Welcome to episode 37 of our board game podcast, a master's degree in rolling terribly, where at the moment, once a week, sometimes, maybe, we get together and play a casual party game called Frosthaven. And then 4 days later, we bitch, complain, and praise how it all went. Then amazing listeners and supporters like yourself download and attempt to decipher two Aussies rambling on about this magnificent game that we've decided to call home. And to that, we once again say thank you. I'm your host, Eddie. Joining me is my co-host, a man who's the yin to my yang, the wrong to my right, the terrible to my less terrible, Gaz. Say hi, Gaz.
Hi guys. Well, it's good to see that we've moved slightly back into the throwing shade, but not completely shade.
What are you talking about? Like, which part of that was shade?
Well, I mean, why can't I be ying?
Oh, it's just
Or
figure of
yang?
speeches. By the way,
I know, I know.
what is yin and yang, by the way? When I wrote that, I wasn't too sure if it was a like romantic couple thing or is it just like a bro and sis thing? No, maybe that's not
I
the
don't
right way
know.
of thinking
It's
about
like a ninja thing, isn't it?
it. Okay. That
That's
makes
always
more
I
sense.
always for some reason that's why the isn't it that little symbol thing with
Yeah. Oh,
it looks like a
I know the symbol because the opposites thing. But a part of me was
yeah.
like, if you're referring to someone as the yin to your yang, does that mean you're like soulmates and they're like you're like in a relationship? And then I
I
was
don't
like,
know.
is this not a
It's getting
friendship?
way too deep.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
I did I just
Times are easier when it was about sauce, right?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. We need to go back to source gate.
Need to go back to source gate. On today's episode, we're actually going to cover scenario 46, which was called Dead Pass. It's another one in our, Algox questline that we have decided we're probably going to hammer out a little bit, at least while we're not time gated, unlike some people.
Well, we're waiting. Yep.
While we're waiting. And yeah, before we actually jump into that, I wanted to quickly talk a little bit about over on our YouTube, someone, the one gunslinger who's actually been talking to me and following us for a really long time. He every now and then makes commentary on some of the things, and I have a bit of a back and forth with him, which is really, really cool and really fun. He was trying to write something and it kept getting removed. Like YouTube was removing it, not me. So he was like, "Is it you? Is it is YouTube blocking what I'm trying to say?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to say."
Controversial.
And he's trying to, but the number keeps going up of comments, but there's no comment there. And I'm like, what could
Oh.
he possibly be
So
saying?
has one of our like videos gone viral now, but there's not actually enough posts?
No,
Like
no, it's something in the text on the body he is writing. YouTube is picking up on it and going, no, you can't say that, and blocking the whole comment from actually being published.
okay.
But it's still counting it as a comment. So I'm seeing the comment number going up, but I don't know what it is. Anyway, so he said I might have to. He tried again, and then it still caught it up. So it was about enhancements. Apparently, you can't say the word enhancements on YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right. That's banned. Oh, does that mean we're gonna get banned now?
Probably.
Oh man. All right. Well, it's been fun, guys.
Yes. So he actually wrote it to me on Reddit, because he used to write it to me on Reddit a long time ago, and he said something really interesting. Remember we were talking about enhancements and our thoughts around them.
Mm.
He brought something up that really changed the way I think about it. He said sending this way as YouTube does not like. I guess I use dagger too much or something. You should go to Discord. I think enchantments are about the right price. So when the building is finally upgraded, but without that, look at adding poison to an attack. An enchantment for a level 1 single attack is 50 gold. Poison damage dagger is 20 gold. Dagger, any card. The enchant locked to one cards. Sorry, I think it's in short form. Dagger melee only. Enchant any attack. Dagger once per long rest. Enchant once
It's
per
live
long
radio,
rest.
everyone. Live radio.
I thought that this was a little bit easier for me to read, but what he's essentially
Speed run?
saying is the amount you use the enchant on the thing doesn't take up an item slot. So by doing it once, you're always going to have it on you as something that, and because it's enchant, it's not tapping, you're just using the card, which you can stand back, you rest, you get it multiple uses, whilst keeping your hands free for other items. And it
Yeah.
kind of pays for itself in a lot of ways. And I kind of never thought about it from a value point of view, I guess, like that.
So I guess that's true, and 100%. I don't think that I have any problem with the enhancements. I think they're great, and I think that points out why they're great. The trouble is that that's putting poison on a level 1 attack card, right?
Mm.
Once you get to level 5, 6, 7, there's probably a fair chunk of your level 1 cards you're not using as much anymore. Like, if you say a class with 10 cards,
Mm,
right, you get to level 7, that means you've chosen 6 cards. You're probably taking those 6 cards because you'd
mm.
hope that they're better than your level 1 cards. Means you're only choosing 4. So you have a really narrow window in which cards you want to take with you. And your pure attack cards at level 1 are probably not gonna be some of the ones that make the cut. So
It's yeah.
it becomes trickier, and I agree. I think being able to reuse a card 2 or 3 or probably 4 times in a scenario, without needing to use an item slot and rest and get it back and shenanigans like that, I think is really good value. But now you're having to enchant a level 2, 3, or 4 card, which doesn't cost 50 gold,
No.
right? That bumps it way up. So
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing where I go, I think it's great. It's just I don't know how much money you're gonna have and whether you're gonna be able to do that.
Well, this is where things will come down to what class you're playing, I guess, because I only know my own cards, and
Mm,
there's a bunch of level 1 cards, also hand limits, right? Um, there's a bunch of level 1 cards that I bring religiously, and one of them is my punt 4, right? Lifting gust or something like that. You hit something at range 3 and you move it 4 back, and it only does 1 damage, but you stick an enchant on there like a immobilize or something like that. You're carrying that for the whole thing. And I
mm.
still right now at level 8 have that in my thing, whereas others may not have a level 1 attack that may be worth. And then because of the leveling thing that you mentioned earlier, you've got a trap player who's got like a hand limit of 9 or something.
Mm.
So that situation will 100% make sense where he's probably always going to have by level 9 he's going to have a handful of not level 1 cards almost.
And it's tricky as well because let's just say you're gonna have that 50 gold around level say 3, right? Like you get your starter gold, you buy a few items, you craft the other ones because you don't really need money as much in this to buy gear because
Mm,
I know you've got the merchant, but you're mostly crafting it. So let's just say you're like level 3. At level 3, would you have known that that punt card is 100% going to be kept i- until level 8?
definitely not.
And that's the hard thing, right? Like, I think about some of the cards that I've kept that I've consistently used, and I go, "Oh, yeah," and I mean, I don't think that the crab has many enhancement slots anyway. I looked at it, but that's the other thing, it's the risk because now you put an enhancement on that, and then at level 5, you get a better version of that card,
Mm,
right? Like, just you go, "This is just a pure upgrade," because you have those kind of cards, and you're like, oh, that this feels bad now, right? Like,
it does. But I guess that's the
and
risk, and that's also the different play style because people will be looking ahead and making
that's
the and planning these things out.
Yeah, yeah, and so this is the caveat with all this. I think all of the things that I'm saying and how I feel about it, and again, I'm not trying to say enhancements are bad. I think they're great, and I want them to be more part of the game.
Yep.
I just can't find the money to pay for it.
Yep.
Is also based on the way we've chosen to play our campaign,
Yep.
which is not looking ahead to the classes, not looking ahead through all the
To
cards,
make the
things
build.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, on the flip side, which I know looking at your level up cards before you level up and stuff like that is completely fine. And it's part of the rules. That makes a lot more sense, actually, right? Like that makes enhancements better because you can kind of map out and go, yeah, you know what? I know I'm going to be using this card in 5, 6 levels. Cool. I'm just going to save up
Save.
50 gold. Even if you can get to 80 gold, right, and get some of the good ones to chuck on like level 2 or even the better ones, knowing that's going to be a staple card.
Mm.
It's kind of like building a character in an MMO, right?
Yep.
You look ahead and go, oh, well, I know where I need to put my points on my skill tree because this is where I'm going. I feel like maybe that's probably the part that we're not playing with.
That's probably the part that I guess yeah, we forget that people don't realize that in a way
Mm,
because every group's going to play things a little bit differently in what they see. People are going to look up optimal ways of playing a character. Others going to look almost have a pathing to maybe the building unlocks or which PQs they want to do in which order because what buildings they're going to unlock, which is going to unlock something else and power creep level items all that kind of stuff.
yeah. I suppose the other thing as well, which we might be able to start utilizing it more, is when we revisit some of the classes. Because when we
Yeah,
revisit the classes, we'll be substantially less precious about looking at the cards, right?
true.
Because if I was going to play the Drifter, I'd be like, well, I've seen most of
No,
the cards. I'm
you have to go by memory from me playing it.
crashing weight and then just win, right? Isn't that how I find? Okay, Drifter's a
Wow,
bad
you
example
got a
because
great
they only got
memory.
one card, right? Pick crushing weight and then just move forward and kill everything. Um, but that's once we get to these classes we've played before and we know what kind of cards are coming, it might be a bit more about, yeah, well, let's look ahead and plan ahead so we can chuck some enhancements on there.
Mm.
Um, and Yeah, I mean, we'll be starting higher level then as well, so maybe that makes more sense as
Mm,
well. So yeah, yeah, it's an interesting take, and I think that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about the money slash item economy side of things with things like poison and status effects on some of your attack cards. So
yeah.
yeah, good call.
No, appreciate that.
Even
We've got some
even
people.
the actually even the jump on the putting jump on things, right? That's like a free pair of jump boots that you get to use 3 or 4 times a scenario. So yeah, it's a really good call out from Gunslinger.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. My brain's thinking and talking and listening at the same time, which is called conversation. Sorry.
That's
I'm getting it.
welcome to being a human.
All right. So, we did scenario 46. Scenario 45 left us with a lot of memories, mostly bad. It was quite scarring. So that's the heist one, guys. So we went to get the ice.
Oh,
We
that
had to do it
one
3 times.
3 times.
So we were venturing to the other side of, the Algoxes. They wanted, is it Algai? Algo, is, anyway, they
They're just
wanted
Latin.
they wanted us to get the ancient ice, which we did, which was horrendous.
You really wanted ancient ice, yes. And
And
now we're
then
going to get the white pure snow, right?
yeah, we're getting the new snow.
Just was this all made in isolation? And oh, well, I suppose we were the only ones in the world in lockdown for like 6 months. But it during COVID, right? Like, was this just like Isaac on a drug binge? Was just like
Yeah, maybe.
all these sub references of
Yeah, but well,
I'm not
there's
making
nothing with
any.
him. It's more about the race. The Algox race are
Yeah, okay. So who?
they're the
Let's not go
party
into that.
race.
That's probably how we get. Yeah, they're the party race. That's right. This is how we get banned from YouTube. All right.
It's awkward until it happens. So yes, we went to do scenario 46. This was called Dead Pass, and uh, yeah, we were trying to work out after we did my last one. I don't want to talk about it, but the 6 week wait. We've got plenty of time to do other things. So
Plenty.
so
All the time in the world.
that's right. So we went and decided we're going to try and clear up some more of the Algox stuff. Now, from an assumption, I reckon we'll have the idea of smashing this out, and then we'll get hit with a few more time gates, and then we'll start working on some of the others, which will be fine. But because this was a fork, like with 2 scenarios, kind of we need to do both before we can advance onwards. We needed to get this one done. So we had a road event. Now last week we didn't actually do amDirt Raw. At the end of this one, we are definitely doing amDirt Raw for last week and this week. So we'll catch up a little bit like that, and we'll try and be more consistent in making sure we do amDirt Raw, covering road and outpost events and anything else after each episode, just to keep it a little consistent. But yeah, we had a road event, and maybe I can't remember. I'll have to look at it, and we'll do it for Raw. It's getting sloppy. Remembering in the actual episodes, but we definitely dissect it in Raw. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Listen to Raw, and we at least 90% chance we'll remember it by then.
Yeah, well, I'll actually have the number also in the show notes so that people will be like, well, I don't know what I'm not listening to. And then it's always there. It's very handy. Scenario goal for scenario 46 is the scenario is complete when 20 new snows have been harvested. At the end of that round, we read a thing. We are presented with a nice little corridor, our starting positions. We've got our old friends, the Shriek Fiends, which I think this might be the 3rd or 4th scenario we've seen them. And then we also had the Lurker, no, not Lurker, the Burrowing Blades.
Oh, the Beyblades.
Beyblades, the OG Beyblades. And it was kind of one elite, one normal, and all that. And they were at the end of the corridor. And right in the middle of this room, there's also a token, a D, on the map, just to say, hey, there's a D here. We're not going to tell you what it does. It's a mystery D. And yeah, it was just, there's a door. So what do we do, right? And it's get new snow. Now, there was a scenario that kind of had this kind of vagueness. I don't know if you remember. I don't remember the number of it. It's the one we had to get the light, the luminescent stuff.
That's the tree one?
I think so. We had
You
to
talking
get
about where we had to kill the earth elementals and
no.
like
The one where we had to go into, I can't remember the name. I think I called it the episode. Oh god, I can't remember. It's we had to go and we had to line up the energy. We flip over a number and it tells you within range where the next like
Oh, yeah, yeah, the digging one.
triangulating the lights.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yep, yep, I remember that one.
Because that one says get 3 luminescent things, and that's kind of it. So this kind of gave me that vibe immediately from the start. And you're right, actually, Sacred Soil was very similar, except I think at the very beginning it revealed that to you what it's about because there was an Earth Spirit, I think, probably on the board. So it kind of told you the rules. So right now, yeah, we're in a room with Beyblades and Shriek Fiends, and yeah, I did something very sneaky and I moved Phil a little bit, and I'll explain why later. So at the very beginning, yeah, just prep. Do you remember anything like how were you with the setup and what were your initial thoughts on kind of what we're getting ourselves into? Also
Yeah.
considering 46 that we're just the other
Oh,
side.
yeah, well, I was terrified this was gonna be like 46B, and we were gonna spend 3 weeks doing this one. The only thing with the initial room was placing your character. I wasn't gonna move anywhere, so I was just gonna, do the usual, prep, and just making sure I was more than 5 squares away from the Shriek Fiend
That
so they
range is
couldn't pull us.
stupid.
Yeah, they would pull us in and, eat our face, so that was pretty much it.
And it's funny with Shriek Fiends because we opened the door up and we learnt the new room. There were more Shriek Fiends in there. I have a weird relationship with Shriek Fiends. When I see them, I get weirdly excited. I don't know why. It's just because I've got kind of fond memories of playing against them as Drifter, and you're walking with crushing weight and you just hit them really hard and you're like, whatever. But then you get those occasional bad ones where all it takes is 2 or 3 and they all do their pull and they all do their everyone within range takes this amount of damage. And it reminds me of all the times that the Bone Shape has just been booked by this and, the amount of times that you've been yoinked out of position. They're really scary. Yet when I see them, I'm not scared, but it's just that card and that combo that they do
Yeah.
at that ridiculous range. Now, that ability also played very much into the rules of this scenario because we had the new snow pedestals. So there are 5 kind of spaces spread out, mind you, near the door that we are coming out of in the first corridor. That, and I'm trying to remember the exact ruling of it. I think at the end of every round, I think it's the end. If there's no one adjacent or on it, it drops you put a token on there to indicate that new snow has spawned on that space.
Yep.
But as soon as something goes over it, you remove all the tokens.
Yeah.
And a character can go adjacent to one and discard a top action to loot all the new snow that's been accumulating each round on that space.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a minefield.
Yeah, so for those that haven't seen the scenario, it's the basically it's a large room. The first half of the room has these spaces that Daddy's talking about where the snow falls, and they're kind of in like a circle shape. And then there's a bunch of monsters at the back of the room, and there's these tokens, so A, B, C, or whatever across, and so that we're going to get unlimited. Like not, oh yeah, it is unlimited. We're going to get spawns every round or every
Oh,
other
yeah,
round
that's
at
right.
the different ones. And the general idea is we're getting sandwiched amongst these monsters, and we need to stay away from those letters, not the spawn ones, but the snow spawning ones, because if you're next to it, doesn't spawn, and then let it build up and then go get it. But at the same point, as Daddy's pointed out, not only do the Shriek Fiends have a habit of just pulling people across the room, which means if they pull you through this thing, then it deletes all the snow that's packed up. But the Beyblades also have a habit of just legging it and just jumping halfway across the room.
Yeah.
So there's kind of these 2 of the monsters in there. I think the other ones were the Yetis. Yeah,
Yeah, we
the
have
undead
frozen
Yeti.
corpses, yeah.
Yeah. So they weren't much of a thing, but those first 2, the Shriek Fiends and the Beyblades, definitely had a randomness to, well, they could just kill a stack, right? Like they could just kill a big stack of the snow that's built up. And so we were kind of like, oh, what do we do? What do we do? So
Yeah. And it's it's a puzzle to look at because it's actually quite terrifying seeing how, oh my God, one misstep, one pull, one something could mess this up. Because there's nothing worse than having something you want things to accumulate. You don't want to be wasting turns looting these new snows when there's just one or even 2. You kind of, and knowing us, we like to build things up and kind of go all in. But it's kind of scary positioning yourself in such a way to make sure that Beyblades don't end up next to you on those
yeah,
spots, and also you don't get pulled through them. Because if it's ambiguous, you can kind of work around it. But there are going to be some instances where an enemy's going to want to come near you, its spot is going to be just on that, and trying to spend a lot of time being mindful of that as we are moving through, knowing that we're going to be locking off some of the snow from spawning because we have no choice. It's near the entrance, and making our way to the back of the room where there's really big health shriek fiends and frozen corpses because they had like something like 12 or 14 health, and trying to come up with a plan of, well, we're all going to stay over here and let the snow accumulate. It was actually really messy and really hard to try and establish how we were going to do it. I think Phil and I actually said that we were going to set up hazards everywhere on the other side with all the shriek fiends so that we can play around with those. And you didn't really do coral things the way you have in the past, traditionally.
Yeah, I found it tricky to get set up. I think
Mm.
by the time I got through the first room, it was kind of more, I just need to do stuff. Because the when we opened the door, the problem I saw was that if we left it too long, that all those monsters were just going to move into the middle where that snow is, and then
Yep.
we would have had to kill them, which we were going to do anyway, but like really quickly, or start pushing them away, and that was
Mm.
going to be tricky. So I just kind of like jumped straight in there. I think he birds, and I got a big movement, so I kind of got over all the snow and into the enemy half of the room. And at that point, it was hard to prep. So, I did leave one of my shield cards at home, and I picked up a different one, so I didn't have the full double shield. But yeah, it was a bit of a different Coral game,
Mm.
and I think in the end, like with the last one, I spent a chunk of time doing the objectives, which is not fun, but means we win. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like spending turns to complete the objectives that we need to do while
That
everyone else
scenario
is trying to pad their
goal. Yeah, you worked on the scenario goal, which everyone forgot existed. Yeah, yeah.
yeah
And
yeah.
yeah, I got accused of padding the meters a little bit, and Phil was laying down a lot of hazards, and
I
we
don't think
were.
there was an accusation. I think you were just guilty, right? Like so, and look, but it
Yes.
worked out. And I think one of the things that made it tricky at the start was that we didn't know. It's a test your luck in a sense, right? Because we've got to stay away from these snow things, let them build up, and then go kind of harvest them all in one go. And you need to get 20. So there's 5 spawning things, I think there
Mm.
was. And so realistically, you're trying to get like 4 off each. Would give you 20, but leaving all of them to go up, and they're all going to go up at different rates because monsters there and blah blah blah. So it was really hard to tell at the start how we're going to do it.
Mm.
It's definitely not going to be harvest them one at a time because that's going to take way too long,
Mm.
right? So we knew we were going to have to let some of them build up. It was just whether we could, and I think that's what we found, that we were able to get 2 or 3 of them free each round to spawn, and sometimes that changed slightly depending on the positioning, but we were able to kind of keep them going up, which was good. And that's what kind of, I guess, allowed us to get to a position where we could kind of harvest.
Mm. No, you spot on. And yeah, we dealt with it's more I think the thing that we struggled the most with actually was the Beyblades, probably because they wouldn't sit still and they've got very high shield. And we don't want to, because of the movement back and forth. Mark spent most of the time in the corridor. He was setting up for whatever came out of the D hole, and it was really amusing watching him put traps, sorry, all over the place on the spawning tile to wait for round 8 when something finally came through. The D, he kept asking, how long do I have, and it's like, you got 4 rounds. He's like, excellent. And then that's funny. There was a bit where that Shriek Fiend did come out, and do you remember he kind of did this weird thing? Whenever he does stuff, it's amusing because we're all playing normal Frosthaven, and then when it's his turn, he just moves a trap onto another trap, which makes it a slightly bigger one, which then moves it adjacent to another one. It's its own chessboard. And then he's like, "You ready for this?" And we're like, "Ready for what?" We don't know what just happened. And then he just punches the Shriek Fiend through 2 traps or something. And the card was, I think the modifier of the card or something, a perk, just said if it's gone, pushed through and it's hit a certain trap, it can continue to be pushed through multiple. And I went through,
I think I think it's part of the card. It's like if it triggers a trap, it gets pushed 1, so it
yeah,
kind of keeps bumping along.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was amazing. And
So he
that's,
punted this Shriek Fiend through 4 traps. Yeah.
and didn't kill it. It
No,
left it on 2.
it still didn't die because they got so much health. Like it's the other thing though that he did when was he walked up and just punched I think it was a Beyblade. Just was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna just do a top action attack.
Yeah.
Oh, +2, that's good,
Yeah.
right? So he just punched this Beyblade out. It was like really clutch.
Yeah.
But we've been joking a lot about how he doesn't draw from his deck. So
Yeah, and it's weird because this is another scenario where the trap had a job and he picked what he wanted to do. He knew that the things were going to spawn from that corridor and he set up for it. So while we're all running around and fighting all of these guys in the other room, he's setting up for that turn. And then when it happens, it's very satisfying and he enjoys that. But it's just a different play style that he is doing with us. That's still working and still contributing in his own way, which is really cool and obviously appreciated because it just means that there's an element to the scenario we don't have to worry about. We don't have to worry about getting ass rammed by whatever's spawning at the back because he's going to punch it through 4 traps. Now we have a Coral who, it's funny how in some of the scenarios we've had in the past, the ones with the emissaries, the ones with the wagons, there's a character that kind of like makes it a bit broken or makes it a bit easy. And this was your time to shine because you get to play 3 cards,
oh, okay.
right? And it actually made the ending part, I mean, it wasn't overly difficult, but it just made the ending part being able to pick up 2 objectives in a single round super clutch. Just in
Yeah.
case.
So because the way they were all placed, you could move and stand next to 2 piles at one time. And the rule is that you discard a card to, I guess, harvest a pile. Because I could play 3, I could move and then discard 2
tops.
cards, 2 tops. Yeah. So it kind of worked out to be like a pretty good way of kind of once all the snow was on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I picked up like 4 piles in like 2 turns or
Yeah.
something like that, and then you went and grabbed 1 or 2, and we were done.
And that's what you meant by you went for the objective because you could reliably do that, and we didn't have to worry
Yeah.
about that towards the end while Phil's in the corner battling one of the Shriek Fiends and I'm running around on Hazard Island. Mind you,
I wish
yeah,
I wish we had that recorded because I feel like he stayed on that one square in that corner for so long.
yeah,
And
he did.
I mean, he was pumping damage out, right? Because he was doing lots of things. It's not to take away from how he was playing, but he just didn't seem to go anywhere.
No.
Like he'd
Well, he got
be,
immobilized in the corner as
oh, that's
well.
true. Yeah, he did get him overlost, didn't he?
He went in there to hit the Shriek Fiend or the Yeti or whatever it was that spawned. He punched it a few times, and the plan was to leave. And then the thing immobilized him, and he's like, "Well, you're not going anywhere. You're staying
I
here."
guess I'll stay.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just running around all the hazards and creating my own. And then when the Shriek Fiends spawn, I then freaked out because I'm like, well, I'm gonna get pulled through all my own hazards. So I had to worry about that. Something else I had to worry about. Okay. Now, Snowflake has healing abilities. It's in its modifier deck. It's in its cards. You start off with quite a few. It's got cards that can heal. I brought 1 card that I could heal myself for some reason. And therefore, there were many times. This is not a scenario where it's kind of like, oh, there's another door. Is everyone ready? I'm going to have a long rest. Let's open it up. Let's get ready for it. I was never in a position where I could long rest. And every time I thought I might need to long rest now, I couldn't because I was running around about 4 health for the majority of the scenario. And the only way I could heal was this card and long resting. And the card was White Winds, which is a heal 2 bottom. That's it. Heal 2 bottom. Now, mind you, it goes at 11 initiative, and it's one of the first cards you get on the Snowflake. So that was my way of staying alive. Problem number 2, and decision I made number 2, right from the get-go, when we were planning the scenario, I said, I'm getting my mastery on a scenario, main quest line scenario. I don't know why. I just was like, I'm going to bring the cards and see how I go. And I can pivot if I need to. And I was never in a position where I felt like I absolutely needed to, even to the point where I was on 4 health and I was like, how am I going to stay alive? How am I going to do this? Because obviously, if it gets right towards the end and I drop, I still get it, right?
Yeah, if you die and you've like achieved the pushing and pulling every turn,
But we
and then
win.
we complete the scenario, you get your mastery. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
I went a very different direction to how I've gone every other time, and I carefully crafted my deck to be able to do the mastery that was move or force an ally or an enemy to move every single round. And Chilling Impact never came with me this time. I benched it for the first time. I love that card, but it just wasn't the right one for that. I had another card, and guys actually pointed it out a couple weeks back during the episode one with the 5 episodes. Because I was trying to do the push-pull one in that one, and remember the last guy I couldn't push or pull, and also on my if I rest, if that element is up and I have that card out, I can still push and pull while I'm long resting. So that's why I was bringing that one along. Anyway, I brought that one along with me, and I literally stacked my deck with movement cards and granting cards, and I got it. I 100% did it. I tracked it. I had a separate piece of paper, and I was like, I wonder how long until someone asks what's going on. And I think there were a couple of times where I've kind of interrupted the table and gone, Gaz, I need to move you. Can I push you?
And there was that. There was other ones as well where I was like, I need to move this guy somewhere. It's like, I don't want him moved. Like, leave him. Like, no, he's moving. Like, he's going somewhere. Is there fine? It's like, I guess there's fine. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So there was, and then there were times where you're like, hey, Daddy, can you push me? I'm like, yes. Yeah. And then there were times you're like, Daddy, can you push me? I'm like, no. No. I was like, but I was so keen to push and pull everyone. And there was a couple of really, really annoying rounds where everything was perfect, but I still needed to move someone. And I was looking around going, enemy, no, good guy. Gaz, I need to move you. And you're like, I guess. I'm like, yeah, can you go here? Can you go here? And at that point, it was kind of becoming clear that I was really trying to get my mastery, because this scenario was going for 17 or something odd rounds, as a lot of the main ones kind of do. But no, I've done it. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm super happy. First mastery for me on any character.
Oh, really?
I didn't get a Drifter one.
No, I know you didn't get the Drifter one, but I thought you got your other. What's your other? Oh,
the first person to take damage.
Like one. That one sucks. Yeah, that's not good.
It's interesting because none of us can take damage, and the only way I can think about it is if.
What do you mean?
Like if if one of us had a wound on us and they went early, they're always going to be the first to take damage. So if they have a strengthen on them that I put on them, or something like that, it would kind of count.
So what is it? It's like you put a buff or debuff on
the first person to take damage in
first player
to take damage has to have a buff that I put on them.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, does that work with that card? Like where you can put cards in my...
Yes. That's a buff. Because at the very beginning of your turn, it's a ward. And I'm pretty sure it's from my ability.
Isn't there another one that just gives me a shield?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a buff, though.
Oh, does it say... It doesn't say buff. That's not a word. It's like positive condition.
I think so.
Yeah, okay. So it would have to be... the ward one. And then I'd have to make sure that I...
It'd be ward, regen, or strengthen. And you would have to, whoever goes first, or whoever gets hit first, or takes damage first. It has to be takes damage. Which is why part of me is like, can we work around that? Can someone with a wound do it? No one has an ability that hurts themselves. Everyone can short rest, but that's at the end of your turn. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll have a look at it and see what we can do.
Look, I'm also.
I mean, you're going to be playing the Snowflake for about the next 10 years, so you may as well. Like, I'm sure an opportunity to do it will come up.
Look, I am guaranteed to probably retire before Phil.
Yeah, actually, knowing the luck that he's going to have.
Yeah. So what happened with that, by the way? Was there any herbs that he needed in this scenario?
One. And there was one person who looted first.
First.
And
first loot of the game.
First loot of the game,
That was Mark, and it was amazing. No, it wasn't amazing. It was just funny. It was just really, really funny.
Just a call out and a warning. Anyone who has what personal quest is it? What's it called?
I don't know. Might be PQ2. I don't know which one.
Whatever it is, without any spoilers, if you have this one, do it now. Just do it straight away. Start it, because it takes forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those...
Are you talking about my PQ or that one? Or his?
Yours.
Oh, mine. Yeah, do mine. Oh, mine is 6 or 7, I can't remember.
It's, whatever it is, like, do it, because it's basically like, you do the first scenario, and then it's like, wait 6 weeks, and then you do that one. It's like, now wait 6 weeks, and yeah, I mean, Daddy didn't really start doing it till like level 5 or something, and then we realized this is actually going to take forever. So
Well, I've got dwarfs thing here. I just have it. Personal quests. I think it's PQ7. Here we go.
okay,
It's a proper length led in the campaign. Some players feel it's too long near the beginning due to how many linked scenarios there are. If you want a slightly fast PQ7, make the following changes. After scenario 65 and 66, add the next section in 5 weeks instead of 6.
is that where we're up to?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So he reduced it by 1 week. Thanks, dwarf. Like, come on, mate. You could have done better.
I know.
Like, we know you're humble, but you have the power. You could have, in your little guide there, you could have put a 2 instead of a 5.
Mm.
All right, and then everyone would have been like, "Yeah, dwarf. Yeah, you're the savior."
Exactly. But
It
right
would
now we're
man.
just saying, oh, thanks, dwarf. It's slightly
Well,
better.
saving us 1 week,
Slightly better.
which we're not even doing apparently.
No.
But yeah. Anyway.
So
moving on.
yeah, as a whole, let's just jump straight to how we felt about the whole thing. We completed it. It wasn't overly nail bitey. All of us stayed alive. I don't think anyone exhausted.
No.
It just literally came from, will we get messed up in the last few turns while we're trying to harvest the remaining snow that we needed? Because there was a bit towards the end where you counted the tokens that were on there, which ones you had, and you just went, well, stop, Daddy, whatever you're doing, stop it. And I'm sitting there with like icicles and thunderstorms. I'm like, what? And you're like, how about you just go loot that, and then I'll loot that one, and Phil can loot that one, and we'll be done. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and it's hard to argue when you get to that point as well, because it's not like, oh, but what I really want to do this other thing, and it's like, we just win if you do this.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just, oh, can you stun that guy or can you heal me instead of doing what you're doing? Can you change your plan slightly because I really need this thing to happen? It's like, no, let's just win, right?
Just wish you said it slightly earlier so that we could go through our standard. Cool, we've got 3 rounds to go. Let's burn some XP, right?
You don't need to. You're gonna
really
you're gonna be
don't.
like level 100.
Oh,
Like,
I got 4 XP, personal XP from the end of that because of my card choices.
yeah. So no, it was
yeah.
no, it was good. It was, I mean, it wasn't the best scenario, like, and not from a, it wasn't bad at all. It was fun enough. It was definitely substantially less shit than the one that we, what is it, 49, 44,
45.
45.
I liked 45 more than this. As much as it was a headache, I think it was a lot more fun.
What, the highest?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, that just had so many elements to go wrong though. Like, I didn't mind doing it, but I didn't want to do it 3 times. Like, if we had finished 45 the first time, I would have been like, yeah, that was really cool. That was nail biting. Good scenario. Let's go. But the fact that we failed it twice, right? And that's not on the scenario. Like, 100% not saying it's a bad scenario because we failed it, but that made it less enjoyable because we had to do it 3 times.
Okay. Would you rather do the one we just did, 46, 3 times, or the heist, 45, 3 times? You had to do one 3 times.
I have to do one of them 3 times. Probably this one.
Ooh, okay.
Like, not because I like it more, because it's easier.
I think we
Like, I
mentioned
feel
at the
like
start.
if we have to fail twice, then I'd rather fail the easier one twice so we can complete it the 3rd time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no. It also has an element of, I guess, a bit more unpredictability because of the Shriek Fiends with the pull and the Beyblades as well with their positioning and where they're going to move. So maybe we'll feel a little bit fresh every time. Do you know what's different?
Yeah.
I keep linking this one to the Firestone one that we had to get, right? Get the 3 stones. What made that one good, yet I don't want to play that one again, was the fact that the tokens were randomized at the start. Because of the random aspect of like placing the tokens, we don't know what numbers are there. So whenever you flip it, it's going to give you a different triangulation, which is a different puzzle to solve. So in a way, that one made that one a little bit more replayable from a completely random point of view, which is pretty cool. Whereas this one is fine. It just gave me the same.
See, I feel the same way, right? I feel the same way. This one's fine. It's not good and it's not bad. I definitely do not want to replay this 3 times.
No.
But if I have to replay one of them, I'm picking this because it feels easier.
It did feel easier. But yeah, no,
Like,
you're
if
right.
one of those 2 scenarios said, "When you complete this, if you have not completed it 2 times already, you need to complete it again," I would rather that be this one because it's easier to do.
Yeah, okay. No, that's
Yeah.
completely fair. Completely fair. Yeah. Algox
Now
quest lines.
we're gonna get correspondence from people going like, "What are you talking about? This is the worst one ever. It took us like 8 goes. Like, what do you want?"
I can see a world where this would. I haven't actually checked what the community thought about this one actually, which is a bit different. But I imagine that I'm gonna go out of my way and say and guess that a 2 player it scales really really well.
Yeah.
Like I can't see it's one size, right? So you got less creatures spawning. Uh,
What do you think it'd be better for 2 people?
maybe.
No, not at all.
Oh
It'd be way
well, it wouldn't
worse.
be worse. It'd be even. Okay, it'd just
No,
be
because your
scales.
action economy is way lower, so your ability to harvest the snow becomes, like, 0.
Or maybe you get an extra snow card. You get a plow. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, that's it, yeah, for 2 people, spawn less guys and have a plow. Yeah, I'm sure that's what they put in the rules.
Yeah, I don't actually think because the only way they'd shorten it would be with 2 people. They'd be like harvest 12 snow or something.
Maybe, but I
But
don't
I
think that
doubt
usually changes,
they
right?
don't change the goal.
Nah, nah.
No. So
Look, I
yes,
think we've established that everything sucks with 2 players. Yeah. So sorry, people, if you're pushing through and you're playing with 2 players and you're really enjoying the game, like credit to you, right? Like, find your fun, have fun. But the game just it's against you.
if I get 100 people that contact me and say yes, I would like to see that. In reference to, if I get enough people, I'll go out and buy another copy of Frosthaven, and Gaz and I will play the whole thing at 2 people just
No,
to show
don't do that.
everyone.
No,
Just
I don't have time for that. Like, when you're signing me up for something that is impossible for me to, would have to stop playing a normal campaign
yeah, then we can do a
to
podcast with
start
just the
again
two
with 2
of us.
people.
Yeah. Is
Look,
this?
if we get enough people to say yeah, then we'll replay that scenario with 2 people. How about we say that?
Ooh. Okay. I might edit that one out. So, how do you think a little friend, a little squire friend, would go in a scenario like this?
Nah, I think he'd probably stand on snow and we'd probably kill him ourselves.
Okay.
We'd be like, "Oh, you stood on one too many snows in the fire." Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. There's every chance that he ends up in Mark's trap pit as well and just gets exploded.
there's an asterisk on every single scenario we do with the trap class that it could potentially be the worst scenario ever for Ormy because he just stand on a trap.
Yeah.
Like, we walk around them and we figure things out, or we jump over them, or we do things, right? Like, Mark will like vomit his traps up everywhere, and then we'll have birds, so we'll get over. Now I know he gets birds, but we can't control where he goes.
Oh, well,
So
you can if you
we can
grant to really
deliberately
push and pull. But if you went back to, do you remember our party lineup when we had him? It was Drifter,
Mhm.
it was Geminate, it was like that. Bone Shaper on this scenario. Like, it Bone Shaper like before Horde, when you have a little party of little scalies running around.
Oh, this
And
is terrible.
yeah, and
He
then him
would have
as
like come
well.
in and said, "Now go stand on the snow." Like, just go remove all the snow, please. Like,
Yeah, I can see some class combinations that may have a good time with this. You know who would have a good time with this? Gemini. He's always probably going to be in the right range to attack things.
why?
I don't know. He'd just be far away. He wouldn't have to get close
Just
to
throwing
anything.
shade at the Geminate again.
Oh well, you're so sensitive. You're just so sensitive about it. All right, cool. So we've got our thoughts on the scenario, and then I've got the thing. So what do we get? We got a morale, which is awesome.
Oh.
Maybe have you checked the back of the sheet to see if it continues, like the morale
What, if
track?
it wraps around?
Yeah.
Or
Oh, I don't know about that.
everybody is so happy that they get really depressed.
Is there a
Isn't that the way it
world?
works? Isn't when happiness amongst a culture or a group of people becomes so high that it's easy for people to be sad because like they're so used to things
Isn't that
being
what
really.
happens when people win the lottery?
No, I think they just blow it all and like end up dying, right?
What's a
Like,
wraparound, or is it just from top to
well, I
bottom?
suppose that
Okay.
is wraparound. Yeah, but yeah, they
Uh,
become poorer than they ever were. Yeah.
well, we also copying a lot of we're gaining a lot of morale. Also, a few Algox quests back, we were awarded 1 minus morale. So we're getting a lot of morale lately. I'm not sure whether or not it's because the game is supposed to lose a lot or whether or not you're supposed to book a lot in order to double build. But it just feels like we've been capped at morale for a while, and when we are losing it, it's just going straight back up.
Yeah, well, we're in a weird situation where we can't build anything.
No, we because we're one prosperity off. We're
Yeah,
one
we're one
prosperity off
prosperity
5,
away from 5,
and no one's
and that basically
retiring.
unlocks like 80% of the buildings to be able to be upgraded. So we're just like, nah, because no one will retire.
No one will
Selfish
retire.
people like you hanging around for another 6 weeks,
Hang
and
on.
Phil who's like, oh, I look, guys, there's this really specific herb I need. And when someone's like, "Oh, is this it?" It's like, "Oh, well, I can't accept that.
No, I need to pick
I
it.
didn't find it. I didn't pick it, so therefore it doesn't count." It's like, come on, mate. Like I was handing it to you.
Look, we know Phil. He would make a count.
He would.
Um,
But
yeah.
yeah, so we are very close to retiring 2 people, and we need someone to retire because we can't get a prosperity.
And that's because we've gone through our building upgrades as well. If we upgrade one, we're going to get a prosperity, but there's nothing to upgrade because we're not at
No,
5
no.
prosperity. It's literally either a quest reward, which we should get something relatively big by the end of a quest chain, you would think,
Mm.
or it's a retirement. And right now, both seem to be time gated. So
Well, the
or
next
herb
quest isn't
gated.
time gated, is it?
No, we just we unlocked, if we do Living Glacier, which is 45, we get the next one, which is Fleeting Permanence, number 52, which I think we can immediately do. So we can actually do that the next time we all catch up. And if we want to, although Gaz likes to do a little bit of one quest and then go, oh, side quest, and then lurker quest, and then this is how you play RPGs, right?
Oh, you have to get sidetracked.
Yeah. Okay. So and we're trying to say, no, let's just try and plow through and finish one of them, and that one's going to be the Algox quest chain.
I think so. We're 2 away from finishing that, right?
I think so. We're pretty close. We've literally got the powder and the ice, and we're about to have a party with both like clans. It's party time. So
Yep.
surely it'll be a nice, happy scenario.
Oh, it'll be everyone comes along. It'll be discard a card to have a good time, right? Once you've discarded all your cards, you had a great time and you win.
Yeah.
The objective will be have an awesome time and be happy.
Yeah, it might be like if you stand on an ice token, you can reduce your initiative by 30, and everyone can start going really quick.
I feel like if you stand on an ice token, you should be going really quick, right?
Me? Oh, I'm just saying, like, because it. Never mind. So, battle goals. Let's have a look. I've got the 4 cards here. I don't know who's tied to who apart from mine. So we have Hunter. Someone had Hunter. Kill one or more elite.
We know who had this one.
Kill one or more elite enemies, or 2 or more for 4 characters. So at the very beginning, we had 2 elites and we had 2 normals. One of each of the Shriek Fiends and one of each of the Beyblades. And it was an interesting first room because we were blowing them up. And it was almost like, a little bit of prep, but also, and I was allocating, I can kill that. And everyone's like, I'm going to kill that. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I can kill that one. And Mark was like, I know I can deal with that one. And it puts a blessed trip down. All of a sudden, everyone's like, ooh. And everyone gets distracted. So it got a bit awkward. And then I went and blew up the 2 normals, I think. And Phil tried to blow up the elites and didn't. And then it was kind of like, that's okay. There'll be more later on. Guaranteed. There's going to be more later on.
No, I seem to remember it was an elite was on very low, and Phil was like, "Okay, cool, I want to kill that one."
Oh, yeah.
And you were like,
Okay, hang
"Oh,
on.
I don't know, but my meters." And like, if I don't, I mean, like, I guess I could not kill it. And then Phil, being a nice guy, was just like, "No, it's fine, it's fine." And you were like, "Okay, cool, I'll kill it then." And then you killed it. And then the conversation came up as to why. And yeah, we're like, "Oh, I'm sure there'll be more elites, right?"
I think, no, yes, you're half right. I think exaggerated as well. I had a move and we were about to go through the door to continue on with the rest of the scenario. And this guy was standing on hazardous terrain on 2 health. And I literally had a card that said, 3 things on hazardous terrain will suffer 2 damage. And I was like, look, I can kill this right now, or you can spend another turn hitting it. And he was like, you may as well kill it. I'm like, yeah, I may as well kill it. I'm moving. We're about to move into the next room. I don't know what your battle goal is. You can do it in the next room. So we had the Shriek Fiends and everything later on, And he was really struggling to kill these things until finally he got one in the corner when he got pinned in the corner and he was having all
Yeah.
fisticuffs with the one in the corner and then the next one as well. And he actually, yeah, he
Oh,
hit.
did he do it in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
end?
he did it. Yeah,
Okay.
he
Oh,
did it.
that's right. There
He
was
had some
the
big, hard hitting moves. Like
yeah,
he
he
really
did some
booked
big
some.
hits, and I think there was one at one stage that almost killed itself, right? It was, like, almost gonna kill itself on
I
him
think
or
so,
something.
yeah. Something
Yeah,
like
so
that.
it's
Oh, the frozen corpse had 2 health and it was burnt in the corner and the fire element was up. So it had to move 1, but if it eats the fire, it'll actually move 3. And if
mm,
it does move, it will do 2 damage to itself. But because it was pinned in the corner with Phil, it had no reason
that's right,
to do it.
that's right, yeah.
So yes, Phil, good work. He got his hunter tick. We had uh ascetic. We had collect fewer loot tokens than any other character.
And who
So
booked this one for him?
me.
Yeah, good on him,
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't. Okay, you need to really clear this.
You
Make
have
this clear for
become
everyone.
Daddy Booker of battle
No,
goals, like
no. So it wasn't until 80% of the way through the. No, maybe 90%. We're nearly done.
it was
Mark
like the
turns
last
to
turn.
me and just says to me, "How many loot tokens do you have?" And I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, I've got 1." And he goes, "Oh, can you get another one?" And I'm like, "No, I can't. This is the last round." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And then yeah, I'm the bad guy again because he didn't know how many loot cards I had. So yeah, he Mark didn't get that. So we're gonna.
Alright, so just so we're on the record, you're almost 2 from 2, right? You tried to book, Phil's battle goal, but he actually overcome, adversity and you to do it, but you did successfully book, uh, Mark's battle goal. So, okay, we're 2 from
Yeah,
2.
but he booked his PQ. So everyone's booking each other, okay? And excuse me, you and I last week booked his PQ by looting one of the 2 herbs he needed.
That's true, but yeah, that's fine.
Uh Gaz, do you remember what you had?
Uh, yeah, it's the one I don't know what it's called, but the one
Dawdler.
where I can't play my lowest initiative
Yeah,
card.
never use your lowest initiative played card as your initiative card.
Yep,
Is
so
that easy as a
slow.
coral?
Huh?
Is that relatively easy as a coral because you get to play 3?
Yeah, it just means you're guaranteed to go really slow.
Okay.
Like the
Aren't you doing
most
that
of the
anyway?
cards. Yeah, well, no, no, no. I usually sit around 20s. That's where you can pretty much consistently go around the 20s. Because you can play 3, and there's usually a card that will be in that, so you can plan to play that one, and then the other 2 to do it. What else you need? But because the other 2 are usually in the 50s, or are above,
Mhm.
that's kind of what I felt I was mostly going very slow all the time.
I'd never had this battle goal. You seem to get it. And I think Mark may have had it once. I can't remember. But yeah, I just haven't had to play around this that I know of, and it feels like an interesting one that I think I might accidentally screw up. It seems like one that's hard to stay on
It's
top
easy,
of.
yeah, it's easy to not mess up. Like there's a couple of times where, when you plan your turn and then I don't know someone says something or you change your mind and then you go, oh, okay, I'm going to change my cards. I'm going to do something different, and then you're going to and then you change it again, and you forget that like the reason you were
Yeah,
playing one
okay.
of those cards was like really
And that's
specific.
something
Like
you do a bit.
what? Change my
No,
cards?
no, no. You're going through the different options. You've got your set options. You go, oh, wait a second, I can now use this as this, and you're nutting that out, and then you go, no, and you revert back to your original, forgetting why you had
Yeah,
done something.
and you forget, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I think that's the thing that could happen with this one very easily. Like, you kind of keep it in mind when you start your turn that you're going to pick your second one.
Mm.
Um, I remember when I played, I got that as a Gemini, and I remember there was a couple of turns I needed to go really early. So it became this like, okay, this is the
Yeah.
card I need to play, right? And like, because this is the thing I need to do. But I also now need to play another really low initiative card so that they're both really low because I
Mm.
need to go early. And that was always interesting to play around.
Mm.
So I quite like it as a battle goal. I think it doesn't force you to mess things up too bad.
No, yeah, it just changes the way you think and
Yeah.
you're planning because we're in a situation now. I'll cover mine, and then I actually want to talk about this a little bit. My last one was Exterminator. So Exterminator was kill one or more enemies of each monster type that appears in the scenario. And from the very first room, I nailed one of the Shriek Fiends and I nailed one of the Beyblades. So I just had to find a frozen corpse and kill it. And because of the way things were spawning, it was pretty much going to happen, and I managed to get that one fairly happily. So I got 2 ticks from that one, and I was really happy with that. On what I was just saying before I jump to DPS, you're are we in a situation right now where the openings of our turns are very stock standard? Because there doesn't seem to be a lot of variety. I'm looking mostly at you and me almost. I'm a bit of a chilling impact person, followed by some bottom movement of some variety. And I don't know what you do. You just make light and dark. So,
The Yeah, pretty consistently because the bottom of one of my cards is the thing that allows me to play 3 cards.
mm,
And that kind of is the momentum piece for the crab because what that means is that, and again, for people who are unfamiliar with how the crab or coral works, is you have these cards that are like persistent cards, but they're different because they don't go in the persistent area, and they just give you a buff. Like, might give you +1 shield, might give you +1 to your move, might give you poison on all your attacks, stuff like that. But it doesn't do anything else. So individually, the card doesn't do anything. It doesn't like attack 3 and then also any of your attacks are there get poison. So what happens is though, because you want some of the bottom persistence, like some of them are like when you rest, you don't lose a tide card. When you rest, you get to heal, get +1 movement, +1 damage, etc. If you can't play 3 cards, you just get stuck,
mm,
right? Because you're playing and you're using the bottom to buff you. But if you're not next to something to attack it, then you kind of can't do a top either. So that means you end up spending that whole turn buffing again. So it kind of ends up being a case of like, well, do I just sit at the start for 3 turns playing all my tide cards and then move as per normal? Or you play the whatever it's called, lets you play 3 cards, and that allows you to basically pick the 2 cards you want to do. Like these are the 2 things I want to do this turn. I want to move and I want to attack. But then also I can pick a buff,
yeah.
right? And that's the enabler. The only problem with it, and I'm finding, and I toned it a little bit down last time, and then this one was very different. The way I played was I'm burning through very quickly. So when you have lulls in scenarios like, okay, now you need to move for a couple of turns, or there's one guy there, and it's almost wasted because you're kind of ramping, and once you get the top, you go straight back down, right?
Yeah, okay.
So it's kind of planning the ramp because
Mm,
if you ramp up and there's just 1 or 2 mobs that we can deal with anyway, then I don't need to have all of these shields and all of these plus to damage. And then it becomes a bit of a waste. So I'm trying to be a bit more conservative with it.
that sounds
And
really tricky because it's like it's ramping. I'm thinking of other ramp style in other games or in other situations. But usually you ramp and then you kind of stay up there, but it just takes a while to get up there and you're
mm,
vulnerable for that period of time leading up to it. You're ramping with tempo. So it's kind of like a ramp and then a drop, and then a ramp and then a
yeah,
drop. And that sounds personally horrible
it's not
for
the
me.
thing is when you don't have the buffs, it's not like you're useless. It's not like
Yeah.
like you can still play cards and they're still good cards. It's just like if you imagine what your potential or your preferred power level is, that's not where you are all the time. But there are a couple of workarounds. Like there's one card that you can play to pick up all your cards out of your discard. It's a burn card, but that kind of then extends your kind of where you're at. There's another one that lets you keep one of your cards in your tide, which means that you can skip that first turn of playing the play 3 cards one. So there's a couple of ways around it. So you don't drop all the way to the bottom. Um,
The 3 card thing, that's a card that you pick when you level up. That
that
you
was a
don't
level
start.
1
Oh,
card.
it's a level 1 card. Okay, so it's built
Yeah, it's
into
pretty
it.
pivotal. It's like mentioned in the description of the class.
Okay,
Like
that's fine.
crashing tide, maybe. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, got you.
I think that's my.
That
I
makes a
think that's the
lot more
crab name.
sense. Because
Yeah.
in my head, I'm thinking, how other ways, do you play this? There's no, you got your rift, yeah, sorry, your ranged and your melee drifter and different ways of playing different classes. Is yours just the same with obviously the tide mechanics exactly the same? But you can go down a little bit of a poison way, and you can go down a little bit of a slightly hitting multi-target way. Is there much variety that you've seen, or
Um, a little bit. Like I can't remember the exact cards I've chosen, but I went more tanky because I chose
gotcha?
like that shield retaliate
Yeah,
card is
gotcha.
a choice. And there's a couple of others that have been similar.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not as drastically different playstyle wise to some of the other ones. where you go range or melee,
Mm.
because I think you're still going to have the core of what you're doing as the same, and there really isn't a lot of range cards.
Yeah, okay.
So it kind of would be similar, but I reckon you could play the crab a lot more aggressive than I am.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
So yeah.
All right. Just quickly, so we have our latest DPS meters. Let's see whether or not. Well, there's no mitigation that I can see in this at all. So I think we've given up on mitigation. I think that's not a thing anymore. So we've just got damage. How much damage we've done, how much damage we've taken, and any healing output. Which it's also slightly questionable, but I'm not giving him a hard time or anything like that. There's a lot to concentrate on, and we had puzzles and battle goals to get and PQs to finish. So most importantly, we have damage. So Phil finished up on 88. Now he is really
Killing
coming into this now. He is like, and like you said earlier, when before we started recording, that's not even counting the hazards terrains that we're in the damage that we track for the purpose of this kind of data and this kind of information. It's if I push something through the hazardous terrain, it kind of counts as my damage as it is, right? It's not just whoever goes over it. If it's a lava piece, it's Phil's, and if it's an ice piece, it's mine. It's just more who triggers it. With the exception of the traps, I think we've just sort of let that go with the trap class, and go on to Mark. So 88 damage, he's pretty much at level 6 now, smashing where his Deathwalker was. And like it's just going up from here. This is, I think, one of the highest I've seen from him, and it didn't even look like it looked like there could have been more.
Yeah,
more coming.
no. He's playing it really well. Like he is. He's getting. I think he's getting his combos right, and he's basically able to output a lot. I will say there's one caveat. I'm pretty sure I only saw green cards in his modifier deck.
Were they
So
were they your
from
green
drawing,
cards?
yeah, they're probably my green cards. Yeah, that's why I only draw red and zeros, right? Because he's stolen all my green cards.
Yeah.
No, like he did. If you were going to average it out, he did draw very well.
Okay.
But in saying that, that's not taking away how he played. He played really well, but I
Mm.
reckon that he probably had a little bit of luck.
Caveat on the caveat. I've been
Mm.
playing a little bit of Jaws of the Lion and Gloomhaven Digital with Phil. It's on our YouTube channel. We've had 2 playthroughs. And it's interesting the difference between in-person Phil when he's flipping over a modifier deck versus when the game is deciding for you. Because that guy could not miss more. He, on average, every scenario, probably about 4 or 5. I've got some of them recorded into shorts of him just missing. And it's just mind-blowing how much he misses, to the point where I feel bad whenever it happens. So it's
Well,
the complete opposite.
remember we had him shuffling your drifter deck, your
Yeah.
modifier deck, and your drifter, and you were drawing. It was fire. Like he was just like, whoa, what the +2? I didn't even know this was in my deck.
Mm.
Yep. So
So 88 with Phil, 71 with me. Now, just a little caveat there. I didn't bring Chilling Impact, which probably would have added another 10 on top of that. So it was interesting to go a slightly different build with the pushing and pulling. It definitely made things feel a lot more control-y, which was really cool, including the ability to move teammates into position as well, which was really cool. Gaz on 32. Now, that just pretty much shows, because the majority of your damage in general comes from your retaliate. A large proportion does, not the majority. And it just shows that this was not a scenario where you were getting grouped up on and around, because in this scenario, everything was flying around left, right, and center from both Beyblade's abilities and me pushing people. So it was very difficult to sort of do that. And then Mark finished up with 36, which was huge, especially on that Shriek Fiend. I mean, 36 damage on the trap. He's still like level 3 or 2.5 or something like that. He did really well, and he's getting really comfortable with the idea of building up those cards, but those traps are making them bigger. And yeah, as long as he knows, because he's been spending the whole game round after round after round planning them and lining them up, he knows what we're capable of when it finally comes to paying it off. Damage taken, Phil took 33. He frontliner into immobilizing the front line just took a wicked dicking, and it was great. He assures me that he is now, because he's leveled up, I think he's hit 7 now, or 6, or one of them. He's now got a shield, and he's very excited because it means that he can frontline, but also tank.
Yep.
to an extent. I don't know how well this is going to go, so we'll find
Yeah,
out.
that's fine. I'm happy to go switch to DPS if we need. Like, he can do the tanking, and we'll go from there.
I took 13, Gaz took 11, Mark took 7, which is a lot for Mark. And then healing, I did 5, you did 5, Phil did 14. He's healing way more than he ever did in the Walker. And Mark healed with 4. That is DPS.
I think we just need to call out that in this one, Phil has topped DPS, damage taken, and healing.
Yeah.
He's, MVP.
Yeah. Holy
Yep,
Triforce.
so well done, Phil.
Amazingly well done. And then that was the end of scenario 46. We go back to Frosthaven where we have outposts and build whatever's left, which there really wasn't much.
No.
We didn't have a section event. And then I think, did we do some brewing?
Yeah.
Didn't you make your 18th card?
Yeah, I think I brewed something and I gave it to Mark. I think I brewed. I think we had the resources for the major stam, which which Mark took, and then I think I brewed something else, which I don't think I took.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was.
No.
I think it might be something like. No, I can't even remember.
Is it about elements?
I think so, but I'm not sure if that's another item. Maybe it was. I don't know. Anyway, we'll figure it out. I'll look next time.
Okay. Well, I think we will wrap it up there. Thank you so much for listening to us. If you would like to get in contact with us, you can email me at contact@rollingterribly.com. You can find us on Instagram at am_dirt. I like to upload photos of the scenario we're doing on the night that we play, and maybe a video, and maybe, lately my descriptions have been like, with certain scenarios, so there's that there. We have Twitter at amDirt. I don't think Gaz has put anything up there in months.
No, I'll jump back on that. Yeah, show us some Twitter love, and I'll start posting.
And then youtube.com/amDirt, where, like I said, we've got Phil and I running in through our Jaws of the Lion /Gloomhaven. Look, I don't know how it all works because I had never played Jaws of the Lion. So when he and I decided that we were going to jump on and play some Gloomhaven Digital, it was like, do you want the Jaws of the Lion DLC? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Is that going to do its own campaign? And it was weird because it's incorporated all into one. So it was like, what do you want to do? There's a city event, which I was a bit confused by. And then it was like, there's this quest all the way out here. And then there's Black Barrow. And Black Barrow is like standard first scenario. And I was just like, but there's this other one over here, which I've now realized is, I think, the Jaws of the Lion pursuit kind of thing. So yeah, we've just uploaded the first 2 of that, and we'll play a little bit of more of that over the weekend as we're getting more comfortable with that, but it's been really fun. Trying to swear less on that. It's proven to be a little bit difficult. I apologize if you do not want to hear that. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. We will be back next week with some more juicy amDirt gossip. I have been Daddy. I have been joined again by Gaz.
And remember, when it comes to rolling terribly, it's all in the wrist.